Welcome back, VA users. Now, in today's session, we are going to cover the use cases for the costing methods. Now, the first costing method that I'm considering is weighted average cost, and along with that, I'm assuming the costing level is going to be the organization. So, based on that, I have prepared this entire use case, and that would allow you to understand how the VA system calculates the cost. So onto the left side, you would be able to see the costing engine status presently. That is based on a certain dates here. And onto the right side, you would be able to see the transactions. Okay. So these are the transactions. I'm not going to perform any transaction somewhere into the VA system. Instead, I'm going to explain using these cases and with this Excel. And I'm very hopeful that you would be able to understand the concept of the costing into the VA system. So as I have mentioned, if you want to do it, then you can create one of the a product category. In that product category, you will assign this particular product, and with that product category, you can give the weighted average cost and the costing level as organization. Thereafter, you would be able to see all these. You would be able to drive all these results. So let's move on. And with an assumption that at my product category there is the costing level is going to be organization, costing method is weighted average cost, while there is a product called HP laptop 15 inches DDR 8 GB with HDD 1 TB is assigned to that particular product category. So your product category can be HP laptops maybe. So once it is there, thereafter I'm assuming that I have did a certain purchase previously and there was a costing status along with at the level of the costing engine. I'm assuming this it is there. 25,000 quantity per unit cost is available and 10 quantities are there. Okay, so for each one quantity there is a cost of 25,000 INR. Okay, now what happens when I started procuring this item again? So I'm just ordering one of the I'm raising one of the purchase order that is on 1st of April and for 100 quantities, and this time I'm getting the cost 27,000. Okay, and 4th of April when I received the material, at that moment of time system generated the cost. So at the 4th of April the system generates the cost soon your material receipt gets completed. So you would be able to see the difference here. Now once the system generated this cost, then the cost becomes 26,818 and your total on hand quantity becomes 110 because 100 quantities comes in plus the 10 quantities are available, so overall quantities are going to be 110. Now this cost is calculated as I have mentioned that it is basically and the quantities available plus incoming cost and the incoming quantity. So in my case my incoming cost is going to be this value and my available is going to be 25,000 plus this. So what it would be, it is going to be 25,000 multiplied by 100. Thereafter I would sum this value with 25,000 plus this value. So my total value is this, and how much quantities I'm receiving? 100 plus how much is available is 10. That is equal to 110. Okay, now if I will divide this value to this divided by this, it gives me the result 26,818. So here my cost is 28,818, and the precision, the rounding precision would be concluded by the system from the currency. Okay, so my base currency is INR, so it is going to, and my rounding is going to be, let's suppose for 5 decimal places, so it's going to be 18182. That is going to be my cost. So you would be able to see the system derives the cost in this way. It means available quantities and the price, the total of this, summation of the incoming quantities multiplied by the purchase order per unit price, and once we will sum up and divide it by the total number of quantity, that is 10 plus 100, 110, the system derives me the cost. The reason behind why I'm considering the PO price, even my costing method is weighted average cost, because the AP invoice so far not came. So if the AP invoice will not come, I won't be able to figure out whether there is any difference at the level of the AP invoice or not. So since there is no difference, I have entered my AP invoice and there is no difference, and hence my cost is going to be 26,818.18. So this becomes the status when I have procured my material and there is a certain cost is available for the product. So that is basically the weighted average invoice. Let's move on to the next transaction. The next transaction says I did my sales, and at the top of this there is a certain margin I just want to apply. So I have applied my margin. Thereafter I'm executing my sales order. So my sales order came on to 5th of April, and I'm selling 50 quantities, and my per unit price for the sales is 35,000. It is not going to be the cost. The reason behind, cost plus my margin would be the final sales price. So it is basically the cost plus margin. So my cost was 26,818, and plus including my margin, profit margin, and based on that I have derived this particular value as my sales price. So my sales price is going to be 35,000 for these 50 quantities, and customer has to pay 17,50,000. Okay, now once I will do this delivery onto the same day, at that moment of time my delivery happened, 50 quantities delivery happened onto the cost. So it is 26,818. Into the VA system there is no field available at the level of the delivery order or at the level of the shipment to enter any kind of prices. So it is an internal process. In that, the system will consider your price, and based on that price your cost of goods sold would be debited and your inventory account would be credited at the time of the shipment. As a result of the processing this transaction, when I say processing, it means completion of the delivery order, the system will update your costing engine, and since it is reducing the quantity, and hence there would not be any change at the level of the cost, only the change comes into the on hand quantity. So your on hand quantity become 90. Now let's suppose, and thereafter I did my AR invoice, I send my AR invoice to the customer and my receivables gets debited. Now once this is done, thereafter I just again initiated a purchase order on 5th of April for 100 quantities, but this time I'm not getting the previous price. Instead I'm getting 26,000 as price. That is little lower than the previous price. Okay, so it is going to be 26,000. So once 26,000, I have raised my purchase order to the vendor, and on 6th of April I received these 100 quantities. Now at once I'm receiving these 100 quantities, and after completion of this material receipt, my status at the level of the costing would be 26,387.56 for 190. Now how this gets calculated? Okay, it gets calculated. It is going to be how much was available. I had 26 plus 90 was available. So I will say plus this multiplied by this. Thereafter, this is the total value. Then we have a procurement of, so the purchase price I'm considering here, but normally if your AP invoice is entered and there is a difference, then the per unit price would be considered. So I'm considering this price at the level. Now the total of these two becomes this value, and I have available was 90 quantities, and my new quantities that are coming in are 100 quantities. So it means 190, and this is the total. So I would divide by 190 Now you would be able to see it says your status is going to be 26,387.56. So here is the cost, and that is how the system is generating the cost. So as I have mentioned that the weighted average is basically nothing, it is going to be the moving average, okay, and whatever the on-hand stock available, based on that the system calculates the cost, and this is what the formula executed by the costing engine at the background, and based on that the system will consider this. In case there is any difference, since into the 5x version of the Vienna Advantage, the system used to calculate the cost at the level of the material receipt itself. It means at that moment of time there is no AP invoices. But later, if there is any difference would come, that difference would be allocated by the system, and that difference would be captured by the system at the level of the match invoice. So you just need to run all these cases to understand the entire concept of calculating the weighted average invoice. And I hope using this example you would be able to understand how system is calculating the cost for weighted average invoice. So that's all in this particular video. If you have any kind of questions, kindly write certain comments. I would our team will try to give you the answers on those. Apart from that, if you think that the knowledge which is shared in this particular video is up to the mark and useful and easy to understand, then I would request to subscribe our channel and share this video to your colleagues as well. Till then, thanks a lot. Bye bye.